All right, guys. Welcome to the channel yet again with another shoe. I'm going to call it an initial review. I've already put about 15 miles in this shoe, but I did this shoe out of popular demand. Okay, and it is this right here. It's a little dirty because I've been testing it out in all sorts of conditions just to see what I can do to get out of this shoe. And it is the Nike Winflo 8. Now, in my previous videos, I have done the Winflo 7, and it was a hugely popular video, so I have decided to do the Winflo 8. Tell you about the differences between this and the Winflo 7, which unfortunately the Winflo 7 I have packed away in a box somewhere, so I don't have it to compare side by side, but I can tell you the differences because it wasn't that long ago that I was still using the Winflo 7. So this is the Winflo 8, and primarily Winflo 8 is an upper update, a pretty significant upper update, if I may say so, but it is an upper update on this shoe. So we're going to go into some of the quick specs on this shoe. It has a completely different material. It's not that engineered mesh upper, it's that translucent material upper, but it is a dual layer. Okay, so it's not like a completely see-through like what you get with, like, what is it, vapor weave or whatever, but it is a translucent upper that is a little bit more breathable than the previous version of the shoe in the Winflo 7. As far as the toe box is concerned, it's just a little bit more breathable, but not much. It still gets somewhat warm in this shoe, but for the most part, it's not too bad. The toe box is pretty much stayed the same, but I'm gonna say this, the issue that I had right out of the box with this shoe was the volume, not the width, the volume, the height of the toe box area. It was a little bit shorter than what you got on the Winflo 7. So it definitely felt more like it was hugging down on the top of your toes, so it didn't allow your toes to kind of move up or down quite so much. So that was the only thing that I didn't like. After a few miles and a few times of wearing it, I also use this to walk around in, but running miles, it's about 15 miles. But wearing this and kind of allowing it to kind of break in a little bit, the upper in the toe area has gotten a little bit looser, a little bit more volume to it. So I think you just got to break it in. That's all you got to do with this particular shoe, is to just break it in a little bit. Going to the tongue, it's got a gusseted tongue, nicely padded, not overly padded. Very similar to the tongue that was in the Winflo 7 as far as its padding is concerned, but they shortened up the top of the tongue where it meets or lays on top of your ankle. They shortened that up a little bit, which isn't a bad thing, because I thought on the old one, I thought the tongue was a little bit long. It was comfortable, but it was a little bit long. The lacing system now has fly wire, so they brought fly wire back, which is awesome. It provides a really, really good lockdown over the midfoot area. I never had any issues, even on those 15-mile runs. It was super comfortable. It didn't feel like it was cutting into my feet. Again, having that gusseted tongue also helps with the lockdown feel on it as well. So really happy about that. Laces, kind of thinner laces, not quite like Asics Nova Blast version 1 thin, but they're a little bit on the thinner laces. These are kind of like their cheaper, I guess, laces to go with. I like the laces that were on the Winflo 7. They were a little bit wider and a little bit flatter, so I like those laces a little bit better, and I think that's part of the reason why I think the lockdown between this and the Winflo 7, I actually prefer the lockdown on the Winflo 7 versus this. It's not saying that this is bad, because it has the flywire system, which I love, and it's back from the Winflo 5, because the Winflo 5 had flywire on it. Now we got flywire on this, which is something I absolutely love, but I think the laces just could be better, okay? They did widen the lacing lockdown system, which if you've seen my videos for the Puma Velocity Nitro, and even the Deviate Nitro, you know that I actually really like that kind of wider lacing system. So when you cinch it down, it really provides a nice lockdown, almost a customized lockdown to every foot. If it's a little bit wider. When the lacing system gets too thin, you almost can't get the right lockdown for your foot. This really allows it to kind of wrap and hug your feet better. So I do like that compared to the Winflo 7. But the Winflo 7's lockdown, I think because of the laces that are a little bit wider, I think provides just a little bit better lockdown feel, like comfort wise. I think this probably has a better lockdown, but comfort with the lockdown I think goes to the Winflo 7. Going around the collar area here, definitely a lot more plush. Definitely a lot more plush, more daily trainer type of feel out of this this heel collar here. So there's a lot more padding right around here. It doesn't have that big of heel flare like the old Winflo 7 did. Also, it feels like right where it hits your Achilles back here, it's also shorter. Like it's not as tall as the old one. I think that did affect the heel slippage a little bit. Sometimes I feel like I have a little bit of heel slippage. A lot of times I just have to relace the shoes, untie them, retie them again when I'm standing up, and that helps the issue. So it might just be me just getting used to it, but it feels like the heel slippage or the heel cup, heel lockdown is not as good as it was on the Winflo 7, but that's initially just me, because I have gotten it to lock down pretty well and I haven't had any issues after that. As you can see, there is a little bit of like green on there, and that's because I've ran it through some like grassy areas just to try to get a feel for what it's like, and different types, again, for you guys, for the reviews, trying to get a better idea of how this shoe works in all different types of weather conditions. I've also used this shoe in rainy conditions as well. I actually have tested this multiple times in rainy conditions because I actually find this to be a very good shoe in wet weather conditions. The top will still get soaked, but whatever. So again, going to the heel collar, the upper here is actually really nice. The insole unit is not like the Pegasus where it's got almost that ortholite type of feel, that foam underneath. It's pretty much just a standard insole, same insole that was used on the Winflo 7. And then after that, that's pretty much where everything becomes very similar to the Winflo 7. So the midsole unit is exactly the same. It's Cushlon foam. You've got an air zoom unit in the forefoot. You've got an air zoom unit in the heel. It's got a 10 mil drop. Looking again, quick specs, couldn't find any stack height information other than it's a 10 mil drop. So if I had to take a guess, looks like, comparing it to other shoes that I have, about a 22 millimeter forefoot, and which 10 millimeter drop would make it 32 millimeters in the heel. It does have that typical heel kind of flare in the back here as well, but a lot of Cushlon foam, also really wide, and you can see that even in the the silhouette of this thing over top. It's got a really wide amount of foam underneath your foot, so it's a very stable shoe to run in as well. So that's something that I just, I like that about the Winflo 7. It just seemed like a very, I don't want to say versatile daily trainer, but I think it was a good option for those who like the Pegasus 35 and 36, that really like the Cushlon foam mixed with the air zoom unit. This, I feel, is like a really good option for those who miss that. It's got a little bit more stack than the Pegasus 35 and 36, but that's not a bad thing because it's Cushlon foam, and Cushlon foam is, in my opinion, it's one of those foams that I think Nike should probably still be using because it's a little bit lighter than React and still has a lot of cushion underneath your shoe or underneath your foot. So, and with the air zoom units, it's got a pretty decent amount of energy return as well. So that's kind of where that fits. Now underneath, we got all of that Nike rubber, same rubber layout that was in the Winflo 7. So nothing changed underneath here. So again, it's an upper update on this shoe. I don't expect them to do I didn't expect them to do a full complete makeover change until we get the Winflo 9, but you can see a lot of rubber, a lot of thick rubber underneath here. It's still relatively flexible in the toe area, not so much in the midfoot, but it's still a lot of rubber, a lot of traction you're getting underneath here. I mean, look at the lugs that are in that. It is insane. That's why I was saying in wet weather, this thing had an insane amount of traction in wet weather. So if you're using this in areas like the Pacific Northwest where it rains a lot, this is a pretty decent shoe to use, to be honest with you. Here in Florida, it rains every afternoon. I don't recommend running in the afternoon in Florida, but as you can see, now it has picked up, you can kind of see it, it's picked up some hitchhikers throughout those runs. So that's the only thing, is it does pick up little pieces of gravel pretty easily in this outsole here. So again, a lot of grip. It wants to grab onto a lot of things in this midsole. And it's got some high abrasion rubber back here and overall, and a decoupled groove. Let me also point that out. It's got a decoupled groove here, which allows you to have that trampoline-like effect. I talk about it with the Nova Blast. I've talked about it with the Velocity Nitro. I've talked about it with a couple other shoes. I believe the React Miler 2. This has a decoupled groove, and it's a nice size decoupled groove. It's wide and it's relatively deep, so it does offer a really nice bounce when you hit that, you know, heel to midfoot strike. It's got a really nice bounce to it, and of course having that air zoom unit in the heel and in the forefoot just really helps with that, not only that energy absorption, but also the kind of a little bit of pop for energy return. So that's kind of the quick specs on this shoe. The comparing it to other shoes out there on the market. Now, mind you, the price on this shoe is $90 US, so it's under $100 for a pair of pretty good Nike running shoes. I know a lot of other YouTubers out there have kind of, you know, steered away from this shoe. I actually find this shoe to be a pretty decent shoe, a pretty decent daily trainer, long mileage, long run type of shoe. It's got the cushion that is really has a lot of energy return, or not a lot of energy return, but a lot of cushion for those long miles. But also the air zoom units really help with a little bit of energy return as well. It's also relatively stable. It's got a pretty stout heel counter back here. So it's actually a pretty decent shoe to run in on a daily basis. It's not a fast shoe. I've tried to pick up the pace in this shoe, and it doesn't really, it wants you to hold a steady pace for a pretty extended period of time. So it's not the most comfortable shoe for fast-paced running, but it does a decent job. Overall, I like it, but comparing it to a lot of the other shoes, I love just watching that. Sorry. I love watching that for whatever reason. But comparing it to other daily trainers that are out there on the market, you obviously have the Nike Pegasus, you have the Puma Velocity Nitro, you've got the Asics Nova Blast. Is this that first choice shoe that I'm reaching for when I go out for a run? No, not really. I find myself reaching for the Velocity Nitro or the Asics Nova Blast a heck of a lot more than I do this shoe. That's not saying that this is a bad shoe, especially when you're considering that the starting price is under $100. If you can catch it on sale or get discount codes, you can get it a heck of a lot less than that. So with that being said, is it a bad shoe? No. Is it my first choice? No, not really. But it is a good shoe. If you're looking for a good daily trainer under $100 that you're going to put a lot of miles in, it's going to last you a long time, this is a really good shoe to consider out there. So again, other shoes to kind of throw in the mix there: Puma Velocity Nitro, Asics Nova Blast. Let's see, we got Obviously the Nike Pegasus, even though it kind of falls into the same category. Nike Pegasus. You know, I'm gonna throw this one out there. Probably, again, daily trainer shoe that you can do long runs in, and I'll go Hoka Rincon. That's right around the same price point, and yeah, I think that's a pretty good amount of shoes right there that you could probably fall into. So if you guys enjoyed the video, thank you guys for watching. Please click that like and subscribe button. It really helps the channel out so we can reach a broader audience. And as always, guys, enjoy the run.